Welcome back to the Acoustic Shop channel. I am John. This is Jeremy here. Today is something special, Jeremy. Did you know that?
There is a lot of value in this room right now.
There is.
Talking about your personality.
Well, it's mostly my personality. Here's the deal. Today is the pre-war death match. At the end of this video, whichever one does not come on top, we're smashing.
Stage smash.
Crushing it. Right after this. Well, Jeremy, we are back once again, and today we got to talk about...
I gotta play guitar in a video, I might as well take a pre-war Martin D-18.
Well, I mean, technically, we did get a little grief on this.
Pre-U.S. involvement in the war, this is built in the U.S., so the only time the war started was when the U.S. got involved. There was no World War.
I love you guys on the internet. You all crack me up. It's like, this guitar, by the way, recently was shown on a Jeremy Shepard Guitar Hunter video, and everybody's like, it's a 1940. That's not pre-war. I don't know if you know this or not.
Pre-U.S. involvement of the war, which... Hey, our dad is a history buff. Don't lecture us on history. We know all about these wars, when the U.S. got involved, why they got involved, how long they were involved, and how many people died getting involved.
There you go.
And
over and over
the difference
over.
in Martin is you didn't have those kind of restrictions that were done in when the U.S. finally got involved that put limitations on materials used and made the biggest changes. So this
which did happen after this, yeah. So we're gonna go. So here's what we got. Today is the ultimate match between two very special guitars. They're both pre-war D-18s from Martin. That one is a 1940. That is my guitar. And then this one was brought up by a fellow who's been watching a lot of our videos. He called me up a couple weeks ago, I think it was. We talked about some guitars. He said, one of these days I'm gonna bring this up. And then I show up to work today and he's already here. Rocky has this guitar, which is a 37 D-18. And we're going to talk about the differences.
It already has points ahead of you by a couple of years.
Yeah, he gets 3 years and some major changes,
10 bonus points per year.
I think something like that.
Already in the scorecard. You guys have a scorecard? 30 points there.
That's a winning scorecard on the pre-war D-18s.
Just trying to decide which one we're smashing. So.
Anyway, we're going to talk about the differences, what happened, and why these guitars are so special. This is a 1937 D-18. It, like my guitar, has had things done to it. It has changed. But we want to talk about what the specs were for these guitars when they were new. These are both what I would consider player-grade guitars, not necessarily collector-grade guitars. But still, very valuable, and you get all the meat and some of the potatoes when you get this level of guitar.
Yeah, you're not so worried about a few scratches here and there because it's meant to be played.
That's
and
right.
That's what people, the big appeal to them is that there is just like a tone and a feel, we went over this before, out of these old guitars that, you know, maybe wouldn't be there if they were in pristine condition. Who knows? I've never seen one in pristine condition, but...
I have, actually.
I haven't seen too many humans that haven't had a lot of work done by this age either. So.
Yeah, and enhancements, if you know what I'm talking about. Anyway,
tuner replacements.
Replacements and whatnot. So let's talk about some of the things that are similar or the same on these. Both of these guitars are going to have Adirondack spruce tops, which is they will both have factory scallop bracing, mahogany back and sides, of course. Mahogany neck as well, open geared tuners, sort of standard on this. Now, some of the changes. This guitar will be 1 3/4 in nut width, where the 1940 was the first year, end of 39, where they switched over to 1 11/16, which is what that guitar has. This one will have a more V-shaped neck, and what I also always found interesting about these pre-war guitars in the neck shape is 1 through 5 is always generally like what most people consider comfort area, and then all of a sudden they just blow up. It just becomes much deeper, much more depth in there, and for you guys that are loving to play all the up the neck stuff that I'm not capable of and don't have enough talent to do, you're going to go, all these things are huge, and the rest of us will go, it's comfortable, it's fine, don't worry about it. It does help to have that V-shape.
You're fine.
Yes. There's nothing. There's no music up here anyway, as far as I know.
It's mandolin zone.
Anyway, but having the more V-shaped neck does actually give it a little bit more comfort and is actually surprisingly better than some of the beefier, more rounded necks. Now, I will say this guitar that I have right here is less V'd than some of the ones that I've played from this era. but it's actually still very, very comfortable.
I'm assuming this was pre-CNC days.
I would say it predated the CNC machine,
By
yes.
maybe 40 or 50 years.
By at least that. More like 80, I would say. But anyway, so that is one of the big differences here. They both do have ebony bridges, maple bridge plates, which was actually really important, and slot-through saddles factory on these guitars. One of the biggest changes, and this is what makes this a much more sought-after guitar than mine, is the forward-shifted bracing. This one, if you were to stick your finger inside here, just not far inside the sound hole is where those two braces meet, moving it forward quite a bit. And that does obviously open up this area to be way more open and vibrant. It's going to make a more vibrant sounding guitar. And in playing these guitars, it was the first thing I noticed of the biggest difference in these guitars is this very concussive, very open, just jumps out at you more so than what that guitar does. That was what the original Dreadnoughts all had in, I believe, the end of 38 into 39, I believe, is when they switched over and scooted it back again. You guys are going to correct me on the internet, so I don't really need to know these facts.
It's our own YouTube Wikipedia. Like, let the users set the record
Tell us
straight.
what is actually there.
So one of the reasons they probably did that were they having too many issues with bellying.
That's
and
exactly
pops
why
pulling
they
up
did it. You know, this leaves so much of that tension to be able to pull on there so that when they decided to fix that, they would just scoot it back a little bit further. Now, that instead of that X brace just barely hitting the edge of that bridge and leaving all this wide open, it now scoots it back and gains some strength to this area. Obviously, that's going to change the sound of it because it's now tightened up a little bit on that top and is going to, you know, kind of affect that sound. It kind of stayed this way throughout forever until, you know, really, I think right around the mid-90s, early 90s, when people were like starting to build Martin themselves. Other guitar companies were doing this because they recognized this difference. But Martin started to move them back because they realized they could go back to building more hand-built guitars and get more strength by building those tops to be the right dimensions and stuff to gain the extra strength. Not just going at a unified, this is how thick we build the top, and we just, you know, fix it by using more bracing. So, again, those are some of the main differences in this. One thing that was brought to my attention that I wasn't aware of, this has black binding, whereas mine has the tortoiseshell. And I don't know what year, again, you guys straighten me out and tell me what year it was that changed over. But this is going to have your black ABS binding versus the tortoiseshell look. And again, as much as everybody thinks, these are not actually tortoiseshell guards.
How much would you say that the binding affects the tone?
It's so much. It actually was the biggest factor in... Somebody's going to call me on that one, too.
I hope so.
It's absolutely no difference.
It is aesthetic.
One thing I think is worth pointing out as I choke on my own spit here is
on his guitars.
binding. Binding is one of those things that really does not affect the tone. A lot of people, for some reason, believe it changes the guitar. It is truly a aesthetic thing. Binding is all about what it looks like. It doesn't really gain it any extra strength.
Something that kind of impressed me, which we're taking a little sidetrack right here, but these guitars, for being almost 100 years old, binding, I rarely find the binding issues we've had with more modern Martins, where a lot of these Martins in the last 20 years, we've been getting a lot of repairs in. The binding just shrinks and cracks and just pops right off. And to even repair it, you have to put another piece of binding in there because it's actually smaller than the
I'm not going
original.
to say it didn't happen. And I think, I
haven't
honestly,
noticed it on many vintage.
I think the reason that you're not noticing that as much is I think there, you know, obviously there's not a ton of them out there, and those that survived were taken care of better than the ones that weren't. As much as there's a lot of people out there, you know, don't believe in humidifying and taking care of guitars, and most people that own these guitars did not do any of those things, they still took a little bit better care of them in order for them to survive this long. So my guess is, because celluloid did shrink, it was common for these guitars. These pick guards would shrink and shrivel and do stuff all the time.
Martin crack.
Yes, it was very common for that to happen. So my guess is that, you know, I may be wrong on this, but yes, there were formulation problems throughout the decades with Martin. There's been some really well-documented time periods with Gibson, Martin, where their celluloid would just have all kinds of problems, do separate, break, do all the kind of stuff. Some of it disintegrated. We've had some Gibson guitars in here where it just absolutely
Gibson mandolin pickguards are just powder.
Yeah, just turned into powder. So it was a formulation that they did have, and there's been some other issues. But
I've just seen it more modernly, but I guess, just, like I said, that was an aside there.
Yeah, that's my guess.
On these two particular guitars, let's start with that one, then you can talk a little bit more about your own. What kind of changes have happened over time that Rocky's aware of? And
obviously, I don't know all the details on this. I went over it quick with him, and we talked about some of the things that were done to this. Obviously, frets have been replaced. These don't have the bar
like
frets.
Tires on a car.
Yeah, it's wear and tear. I'm going to assume nuts and saddles. I think that one does still have the original nut on it, but it's been shimmed. That one doesn't even have the original bridge. But this one has been refinished. Finish has been taken off of it and redone. Neck reset has been done on this guitar.
you mentioned new tuners.
New tuners, yes. These are not the original. Now, they are older Grover tuners from within the era, but it's not quite the ones that Martin would have used on this guitar when it came out. And as far as the nut, you kind of, one thing that kind of tells you that is the original ones were actually ivory, and if you don't see ivory, you'll know. And with my poor eyesight, I'm not seeing that on this guitar. I don't see the grain. I'm not gonna, I can be corrected. It could be the original one, but probably not.
Then on yours, we've had the bridge replaced a
bridge
couple
is
times.
brand new,
neck reset done on it.
reshaped. Neck has been reset on it. You know what I find really interesting about this one? It has the opposite problem, you know, with fretboards. It has obviously been planed and made smaller, but it's the opposite direction of mine. My guitar pulled up, and we didn't have truss rods in these. They had the T-bar in there, which did give it a lot of strength. They didn't move as much as modern-day guitars, but with a truss rod that's adjustable, we can adjust that stuff out. So I'd much rather it move more often than I can bring it back. Although there are arguments, and I would love to experiment more, I can't say my knowledge says that this is true, that the T-bar did add extra mass and does actually change the tone of these guitars. A lot of very well-respected people that I know swear up and down that's true, so I don't have any doubt that that is a fact, but I still love the idea of being able to adjust my neck in the future on this. But what I'm seeing is, if you look at that guitar, when it gets down to the first fret, there's like about that much fretboard left. And what that was I had to pull off all the frets, level it as it would bow forward, because you can't adjust that back out of it. This one seems to be the opposite. It seems a little heavier here than it actually does as it goes down, or even pretty close to even. So again, do
that might have been
neck reset.
adjusting after the reset.
And running those. So. But again, these are player guitars. That's what they're supposed to be. I think it absolutely helps them. Very cool sounding guitar.
I think you just got to the point of it right there. People are going to want to hear these two back to back.
We're just going to play it so you can hear the difference between a 1937 Martin D-18 and a 1940 D-18. Here's the deal. I think we have two incredible guitars. Both of them had commonalities. I think there's an overall room presence that I don't know if it's going to be able to be shown for you guys at home in the microphones. There is an omnipresent roar that just happens when you get this guitar in your hand.
Yeah.
Either one. It just feels like you feel it in every, and it's not just because you're playing it, the whole room feels it. It doesn't seem to translate in the videos that we've done in the past. There's some of it there, but you don't quite get all of that. Tonality-wise, these, like I said, almost did what I expected them to do. That is a quintessential 37 D-18.
It's got that low end
it's
resonance.
got brightness, it's got attack, it's got all the stuff that's there. My guitar is an oddball in that it just has this super round bottom end and top end, and just kind of is it's a more of a silent killer kind of thing. You know, that guy, it shows up in the room, and you know that you've been knocked in the head right there. So that's what I feel. For me, feeling wise, this is home. I've been playing this guitar for 20 some odd years now, and the inch and 11/16 and this neck shape, it took me a second, boy, to get used to. I'd been playing that one the whole time beforehand, and I got used to that wider spacing at the bridge, the wider spacing at the nut.
Definitely when you get up the neck, that's
a beefy neck.
Yeah.
But that's what a 30s guitar does. Where this one is a more modern profile to be in there. Once I did get back in here, like I said, it just felt like home to me. So,
well, this one you can definitely feel that forward shifted bracing where it just
it growls.
Yeah, you just feel that the entire body just shake. Very cool. Both of these, having these in here is a pretty exceptional thing. And Jeremy Shepard's video got a lot of attention for saying, is it worth the cost of this? And the great thing for both of you guys is you were able to get into them before the price affordably. And that's something, that's one of those special Pawn Stars sort of thing where if you just find the right person that was getting rid of one, or the condition in both these cases, they both needed some work. So able to get into them for not their full market value now, which is great. It's kind of like buying early stock to Apple, and then all of a sudden the price goes through the roof. You can't really buy in now and say, is it worth buying into Apple now? But if you were one of those first guys to get in on it, congratulations.
I wholeheartedly say yes, if you can afford it. If you are searching out that sound, there's only one way to get it. And that's these guitars. I don't care who's building it. You guys know I love Thompson guitars. You know I love Boucher guitars. I love Atkin. All these companies are building amazing guitars right now. And Bourgeois, I don't care who it is. They're building a guitar that someday will do this. But they can't do it now.
And the thing that surprised me with some of the objections to people about the price, spending it on that, is you have a pickup truck, you've been searching for another pickup truck. Half the people commenting on that video about how ridiculous it would be to ever spend that much on a guitar, own a pickup truck that's probably pushing $100,000, buying some of these new trucks, and the value of those it's gone as soon as you drive it off the lot. Where these keep going up, and it's one of those one-time purchases. Is there a value of buying a pickup truck that costs you $80,000? I guess if you can afford it, yeah,
absolutely.
A lot of people are buying them.
Absolutely, that's a fact. Everybody has to put into mind, what are your priorities?
I guess the priorities thing is, it's harder to get a 0% interest loan on a
Banks
Lloyd Lohr mandolin,
understand it as
pickup
much.
trucks for some reason they're okay with. Priorities, right?
There we go. Well, this video took a weird spin, and I hope you all enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I got to play two great guitars, and if you did love it, put some comments down below. If you think Jeremy's wrong, tell him about it.
If you want to finance me Lloyd Lohr for 0% interest,
that's another thing. Put that in the comments below, as well as commenting and liking and sharing and all that stuff.
Which guitar did you prefer the tone of? I'd like to hear what you guys think.
I liked them both, so that's all there is to it. Guys, we'll see you next time. Hope you enjoyed it.
appreciate you guys watching that video. It was my favorite one we've made so far. We've done hundreds of videos, and that was the best one.
It was.
And the next one's going to be even better. If you'd like to see that, be sure you subscribe to this channel. And also, the more you comment and interact below, the more the YouTube algorithms pick it up and start pushing it out to other people, like-minded people.
Algorithms?
Algorithms, they're everywhere. They permeate the internet, and YouTube's got one, and it watches our videos, and it sees how much you comment, and then it pushes us to other people like you. And we want everyone to experience the acoustic shop world, where we talk about instruments, we do reviews, we got some fun videos coming up. We thank you guys so much for being a part of it, and we'll see you in the next video.